And I said, no, I need it. I really need it tonight. Mel Brooks isn't the type of guy who stays mad forever, but man, he never forgets stuff, and when he remembers for years. Mel Brooks, the crazy, funny mastermind who made Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, is the dude who turned total mess into pure gold comedy. For over 60 years, he's had people laughing so hard they were crying. But behind all those laughs, there was this super strict side of him, a guy who ran comedy like a boss with perfect control. During all his years making movies, Brooks worked with every kind of actor. You had the super talented ones, the weird quirky ones, and the total pain-in-the-butt ones. Some would forget their lines, some wouldn't listen to what he said, and others showed up acting like they were the biggest star and the movie didn't even matter. For Mel, that was it. Once you got on his secret hate list in his head, you were stuck there forever. He never yelled, he never slammed doors, he just went quiet and wiped you out of his world. From the producers all the way to Spaceballs, every movie he made was proof. Brooks could change the story or just delete you from it without even telling you first. Now, after keeping quiet his whole life, Mel Brooks is finally spilling the real tea. He's talking openly about the times people let him down, the super tense moments on set, and the actors who almost wrecked everything. 5 actors, all super talented, all impossible to forget, but Mel remembers them for the worst reasons. And for the first time ever, he's saying their names out loud. Which stars made Mel Brooks swear he'd never work with them again? Who were the big talents that were too full of themselves to stick around? Hang on till the end because what you're going to hear might totally change how you look at some of Hollywood's favorite funny legends. Number 1. Gene Wilder. Some betrayals come from random people. Mel Brooks's biggest heartbreak came from his best buddy. Gene Wilder wasn't just some actor to him. He was like Mel's comedy soulmate, the perfect match. Together, they didn't just make funny movies. They totally changed comedy forever. The producers, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, everyone wasn't just popular. It was game-changing. But after Young Frankenstein, things got weird. Wilder had written most of the script for that movie. Brooks shaped it, directed it, and fought super hard to keep it in black and white. The result was pure magic, an instant classic. But backstage, things were already cracking. Wilder had this other movie idea burning in him, the adventure of Sherlock Holmes's smarter brother. He wrote it, he wanted to direct it, and he wanted Mel to produce it. Brooks said no. Not because it wasn't funny, not because it sucked, but because, like he said later, Gene thought he was ready. I knew he wasn't. Wilder felt totally betrayed. He expected his friend to back him up. Brooks gave him space instead. That space turned into total silence. Wilder went and made the movie without him. The cast had familiar faces like Marty Feldman, Madeline Kahn, but the magic vibe was missing. The spark between them was weaker. For 4 whole years, Brooks and Wilder didn't talk. No big fight, no news drama, just a quiet split. 2 guys who used to finish each other's jokes now went their own ways. Brooks reportedly told a friend, "It was like watching your brother pack his bags and leave home, except he took your favorite joke with him." They bumped into each other years later by total accident at some event neither planned to go to. No big speeches, no sorries, just 2 old buddies in the same room and maybe remembering for a second how awesome their laughs used to be. There was no huge makeup moment, no crying hug, just a handshake, a couple jokes swapped, and something that kind of looked like friendship again, but the damage was still there. They never worked together after that, not because they were mad, but because they were quietly let down. Brooks once said Gene Wilder was the only actor he ever trusted with his half-baked ideas. He could give Gene a scene that wasn't finished, a character with no punchline yet, and Wilder would fix it like he already knew the ending. After Smarter Brother, that trust was gone forever. Wilder had stepped outside their special circle, and Mel Brooks, even with all his goofy laughs, never let anyone do that twice. In public, they acted warm, nice, respectful. But in Brooks's private world, the one held together by perfect timing, gut feelings, and loyalty, Gene Wilder was the one who snapped the connection. Not because he was mean, but it was enough to hurt bad. Because sometimes the person who knows you the best knows exactly where to hurt you. Number 2, Frank Langella. Some actors lose a part, but Langella lost the whole director. On paper, he looked perfect. Brooks was working on Dracula, dead and loving it. And Langella had already played Dracula on Broadway and killed it. Tall, super charming, total theater guy. Everything seemed awesome until it totally wasn't. He was Dracula, at least the serious, scary version, and that was the whole issue. Mel Brooks wasn't making anything serious. He didn't want dark, creepy drama or fancy stares with candles and sadness. He wanted total craziness, people falling flat on their faces, jokes that hit like thunder. A vampire who could give a deep speech 1 second and trip over a candlestick the next. But Frank Langella showed up to prep like he was about to play Hamlet again. From day one, the vibe was all wrong. Rehearsals were slow and boring. Brooks, who normally ran his sets like a wild fun circus, had to slow everything down. Langella didn't laugh at jokes. He didn't make stuff up on the spot. He said his lines like they were from the Bible. Super heavy, slow, no fun surprises. He wasn't playing Dracula, Brooks told a friend later. He was playing a saint. Brooks tried to fix it. He gave notes, little hints, gentle nudges. Nothing worked. Langella would nod nicely, then go right back to the same stiff statue acting. Tension started growing backstage. Brooks needed fast energy, but Langella just brought heaviness. Scenes that were supposed to be hilarious fell flat because of all the serious pauses. The rest of the cast, all pro-funny people and character actors, started getting nervous. Crew guys whispered, "Is this supposed to be a comedy or some opera?" Then came the moment everything broke. During a test reading, Brooks gave Langella a new line. A classic Mel twist. Serious setup, totally silly punchline. Langella blinked, stopped, then asked straight-faced, "Do you want me to mock the text?" Brooks looked at him for a second and said, "No, I want you to survive it." That was the final straw. By the end of the week, Langella was out. No yelling, no big announcement, no drama, just a quiet swap. Leslie Nielsen came in, a totally different Dracula, one who could act serious while everything around him went nuts in the best way. That's what Brooks wanted. Not heavy seriousness, but fun control. Nielsen nailed it. Langella didn't. Officially, they called it creative differences. But everyone close to the movie knew the real story. Mel Brooks wasn't going to fight a fancy theater guy into doing goofy comedy. He wanted someone who got the joke before it even landed. Langella never got it. He left the movie quietly and never talked about it again. Brooks, gotta give him credit, never trash-talked him in public. But when, Dracula. Dead and loving. It came up in interviews. Brooks talked about Leslie Nielsen with one word: perfect. Langella's name never came up. In Brooks's world, there were only two types of actors: the ones who made the craziness even better, and the ones who got swallowed by it. Langella showed up acting like a king, but Mel wasn't making a kingdom. He was making total chaos, and in his world, you had to enjoy crashing and burning. Number 3, Chevy Chase. Mel Brooks had this gut feeling about people's energy. He could tell before anyone even said a line or tried a scene if they fit in his crazy world. With Chevy Chase, every alarm in him screamed no. They never worked together, not even once. And that wasn't random. It was on purpose. All through the 80s and early 90s, Chase's name kept popping up. Studio bosses pushed super hard. He was a huge star, a big name, the king of American comedy with quick jokes and that famous blank stare. But every single time, Brooks said, nope. No second thoughts, no meetings, just a firm, quiet no. Because Mel Brooks didn't pick people because they were famous. He picked them for timing, trust, and chaos he could control. And deep down, he knew Chevy Chase would never match that vibe. Why? Because Chevy Chase broke the number one rule in Mel Brooks's world. He didn't play nice with the team. Brooks had heard all the stories way before anyone even thought of them working together. On talk shows, quiet Hollywood gossip, warnings from friends. Chevy was quick, sharp, and could be hilarious. He could light up a room, then suck all the air out just as fast. Brooks reportedly told a casting person, he's not acting. He's just waiting for everyone else to shut up so he can show he's the smartest guy there. But Brooks didn't want the smartest guy. He wanted the most giving one, someone who could nail the joke and still let someone else get a bigger laugh. That wasn't Chevy. The closest they ever got to working together was when they talked about Spaceballs. Chase's name came up for Dark helmet, he had the dry voice, the blank face, the right beat, but Brooks barely thought about it. He wanted Rick Moranis. Rick knows when to chill. Brooks later said Chevy only knows how to butt in. For Brooks, the team vibe was more important than fame. Timing was everything. Ego was not allowed. In private, he called Chase a guy who wrecked comedy instead of dancing with it. He liked the talent, the quick brain, the jokes, but hated how it came with this cold wall, always smirking, always one step back. Comedy for Brooks wasn't about looking cool, it was about jumping in 100%. No matter how wild the joke, you had to believe it, live it, sell it. Chevy didn't. There was one meeting between them, quick, polite, and totally forgettable. It ended with Mel giving a half smile and saying, "Maybe in another universe." Chase never got into Mel's universe. Years later, Brooks kinda hinted at it in an interview. Careful words, no names. Some actors are so into themselves, he said, they forget to really be in the moment. You can see them thinking about how cool they look instead of acting. The host asked if he meant Chevy Chase. Mel just smiled and changed the subject. For Mel Brooks, the team spark was everything. That shared beat, the quiet space between lines, the secret deal every good comedy needs. Trust me and I'll trust you. But Chevy Chase didn't trust anybody. He used quiet like a weapon, words like knives, and every talk had to end with him winning. Brooks never wanted to win. He wanted the whole group, the balance, the flow, the timing, the trust. In the end, Chase wasn't banned. He was just never invited. Not because he wasn't funny, but because he didn't fit. And in Mel Brooks's world, weirdos were totally welcome as long as they felt the beat. But big ego, pretending to be confidence, that had to stay outside. Number 4, Harvey Korman. On camera, Harvey Korman and was pure gold. Brooks trusted him with some of the biggest laughs ever, and Harvey always delivered. Blazing Saddles, High Anxiety, History of the World Part 1. Korman could hold a silly face just long enough to make you lose it laughing, then drop it perfectly. But behind all that talent, there was drama that Brooks hardly ever mentioned. Korman came from the Carol Burnett show, where he was the main guy in sketch after sketch. He was used to total freedom, loose scripts, making stuff up, a room that changed for him. But Brooks's sets didn't change for anyone. They were planned out, exact, more like a perfect orchestra than a playground. Every line, every look, every pause was part of one big beat. And when someone went off that beat too much, everything felt wrong. Korman, even with all his skill, went off beat a lot. Their worst fight happened during High Anxiety. Brooks had him playing Dr. Montague, the stuck-up, creepy boss of the Institute for Super Nervous People. Korman wanted to change the whole character. New weird habits, new lines, even big rewrites. Brooks said no way. We already wrote the funny stuff, he told him. Just do it. Korman didn't like that. The set got super tense. He started stopping between takes, arguing about where to stand, doubting the timing. Brooks, who usually loved joking and making stuff up, started ending talks fast. What was supposed to be a fun, easy shoot turned into a bunch of silent battles. Crew people later called it sneaky fighting. No screaming, no blow-ups, just endless arguing. Halfway through filming, Brooks told a producer in private, "Harvey wants to be the director, but I already am." By the last week, they barely talked. Brooks gave notes through his assistant. Korman stayed by himself between takes. The fun energy that made Blazing Saddles amazing was gone. Everything felt stiff and cold. The beat was lost. The laughs felt fake. The trust was broken quietly. The acting still worked, though. Harvey Korman was just too good to let the drama show. On screen, he looked perfect, timing on point, everything great, but Mel Brooks never forgot how hard it was to get there. After High Anxiety, Korman's name just disappeared from new projects, not because Brooks was mad, but because he was tired. Brooks explained it later his own way. Some actors bring happiness to the set. Harvey brought genius, but it always came with pushback. There was no big public fight, no sad goodbye, just a quiet agreement that they were done. Korman stayed proud of their movies. He talked nicely about Brooks for years, and Brooks never downplayed how big Korman was to his best stuff. But the team-up was over. The beat was broken. And Mel Brooks, more than anything, built everything on that beat. He could deal with craziness. He could handle drama queens, weirdos, total chaos, and costumes. But when working together felt like a fight, When laughs started feeling like war, that's where Brooks said stop. He didn't care about being the boss, he cared about the laugh. And when the laugh cost too much energy, he walked away. Number 5. Jerry Lewis. Mel Brooks respected pure talent, but he had zero time for big egos. And with Jerry Lewis, he saw one hiding inside the other. Both guys were comedy builders, creators of wild worlds where crazy stuff made sense. Both wrote, directed, and starred in their own movies. For years, studios dreamed of putting them together. It never happened. In private, Brooks called Lewis brilliant but draining. He loved The Nutty Professor. He respected the history, the perfect timing, the new ideas, but not the guy himself. The big no came in the mid-'80s during early talks for Life Stinks, Brooks's dark, funny story about a rich guy forced to live homeless. Someone suggested Jerry Lewis for the main part. For the studio, it sounded perfect. 2 comedy kings, 1 movie. But for Brooks, it sounded like a disaster ready to explode. The studio had suggested Jerry Lewis for a big side role. They said it would make it classy, add genius, but Mel Brooks wasn't buying it. "I don't need someone who thinks he's funnier than the whole movie," he reportedly told his. Brooks knew Lewis's reputation, changing lines right there, taking over directing, sucking up all the attention. Brooks wasn't made to share control, not in editing, not on set. They met only once. A friend set up dinner, hoping they'd click. Brooks showed up interested. Lewis came late, then talked nonstop for 15 minutes about how American comedy changed, barely looking at Mel. Brooks listened, waited for a real connection that never happened, and quietly left before dessert. After that night, the whole idea died. Mel later said he didn't want to work together. He wanted people to clap for him. And that was the end. In public, both stayed polite. No trash talk, no fights. But people in the know knew there was no friendship, no respect, no sadness about missing out, just both thinking the other wasn't worth it. Brooks once joked, "When it comes to comedians, I don't pick the ones who think they're the center of the universe. I already have a son." That says everything about him. Mel Brooks made teams, controlled chaos, where wild stuff had perfect timing and ego helped the joke, not the other way. He let stars be bright, but only if they knew the world didn't spin around them. Jerry Lewis couldn't fit in that world. His ego was too huge, too all about him. Brooks saw it clear. Working with Jerry, he said in private, would have been like a bomb, not because of talent, but because of all the rest. The line changes, the fights, the control battles. Too loud, too much, too crazy. There was never a scene together, never a call, not even a real offer, just a guy Mel Brooks admired from far away. Because even legends can get kicked out when they think the set is all about them. Brooks didn't need to yell or cause drama. He just shut the door quietly and forever. Some actors missed out because they weren't good enough, but these 5, they were plenty good. What they didn't have, he was trust perfect timing, being humble, or just reading the room right. And with Mel, once that trust was gone, no way back. You didn't just get cut from one movie, you got erased from the whole conversation. So, tell me, who do you think almost made this list? Or maybe should have? Drop your guesses in the comments below. And if you want to see the next episode of Hollywood's Hidden Blacklist super early, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the channel for members-only extra stuff. Because in Mel Brooks' universe, getting picked for a movie wasn't the win. Staying picked was